right? The air is just,
Yeah.
it's absolutely electric. The lines are set. And everyone has a blistering hot take.
Oh, for sure.
But when the stakes get this high, win or go home in the playoffs,
Yeah.
are we really betting on the cold, hard statistics?
Or are we betting on just pure, beautiful, inevitable chaos?
Exactly. Welcome to the Deep Dive, where today we are tearing apart the fiercest debates in professional football prediction.
Well, today we took on a stack of source transcripts, and these were from some truly intense sports analysis discussions, really focusing on two key professional football matchups. And what immediately stood out to me was it wasn't just a simple disagreement on who would win. We found two utterly strong opposing viewpoints on each game.
And fueled by completely different sets of evidence.
Completely different.
Yeah, our mission today is simple. We're moving way beyond just predicting who's going to lift the trophy. We're diving deep to unpack the specific logic, the key metrics, the player stats, and all those situational factors.
It's a little nugget.
The critical nuggets that fuel this deep disagreement. When we're done, you, the listener, will have the analytical tools to understand both sides, every high-stakes argument you're going to hear this playoff season.
It's all about separating the noise from the signal, especially when the signal is screaming two entirely contradictory things.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's start with a massive potential upset scenario. We're talking about the Los Angeles Rams and the Carolina Panthers. This first matchup, it truly embodies that clash between overwhelming logic and, historical situational factors.
The initial setup here is, it's startling because the gap in perceived quality is immense. The Rams are not just slight favorites, they are massive 10.5-point favorites on the road.
10.5 points.
According to DraftKings Sportsbook.
In the playoffs. That is a canyon of expectation.
It is. To put that margin into context, the sources note that the Rams would be the first double-digit favorite in a playoff game since a team managed that feat way back in 2023.
So that margin is basically the betting market screaming one thing.
Statistical dominant. To a degree we rarely see once January football starts.
But history and a really passionate former Panther perspective we analyzed immediately shot back. It throws the brakes on that whole dominance train.
It does.
They pointed directly to a recent regular season loss. They highlighted that a blazing hot Rams team went into the Bank of America in Charlotte just a few weeks ago. And what was the phrase? They got mighty Watt.
Got mighty Watt. Yeah, and that phrase is the analyst's colorful way of saying the Rams were just completely neutralized, shut down offensively.
Right.
And that previous result, it directly undercuts the entire statistical argument because it shows that this underdog team, they already have a blueprint for victory.
And the analyst pointed out that Matthew Stafford, described as the Rams' quote-unquote MVP at the time.
Right, the supposed MVP.
He didn't look so much like an MVP in that prior meeting. So you have this stark contradiction. The team is statistically excellent, but they already failed the situational test.
And the numbers that back up the Rams' statistical argument are, they're truly overwhelming. We're talking about an MVP caliber season for Matthew Stafford.
The numbers are insane.
4,700 yards passing, 46 touchdowns, and just 8 interceptions. His efficiency, the Sheem output, it's monumental.
So for the betting line to reflect that, the odds makers basically have to just dismiss that one regular season failure.
They have to treat it as a total anomaly, a fluke.
Right. And the pro-upset argument, it really hinges entirely on that playoff football fact.
Yeah.
The source claimed anything, and I mean anything, can happen.
It's an emotional appeal, sure, but it's anchored by the fact that the Panthers team, and they specifically shouted out their core players, Rico, Chuba, Bryce Young, T-Mac, they're hungry, they understand their role as spoilers.
The mentality is fierce.
Oh yeah, they respect the Rams stars, Puka, Matthew, Vonte, but the message is clear. In the playoffs, respect does not equal fear. They use the phrase, anybody can get this belt.
I love that.
That kind of unified underdog mentality is one of those ultimate intangibles that numbers just fail to capture.
So you have the statistical analyst on one side saying, look, the Rams roster is too strong. You've got players like Quentin Lake and Vonte Adams expected back. The Rams should simply kick their ass.
And that there's no way in hell this should be an upset alert.
So how do you, as a neutral observer, reconcile this gap?
You have to look at the tactical failure of the Rams in that first game. The statistical analyst sort of dismisses the Panthers' successful ball control strategy. But that is precisely the blueprint for a monumental upset. While Bryce Young only threw for 206 yards, completed 15 of 20 passes, the Panthers ran the ball about 40 times.
40 times. That means they were deliberately taking the air out of the ball.
Taking time off the clock, limiting the Rams' possessions, keeping that explosive Stafford-led offense right on the sideline.
Exactly. When you have a massive statistical firepower mismatch, the underdog doesn't try to outscore them.
No, they try to control the environment. Running the ball 40 times is a statement that says, we will shorten this game and reduce the variance until one or two things go right for us.
And that's the key nugget this statistical model might be overlooking.
I think so.
What's so fascinating here is just the absolute tension between that overwhelming statistical performance, those huge efficiency numbers for Stafford, and the historical situational fact of a previous loss.
Right.
I mean, which one do you trust more when the lights are brightest and the stakes are highest?
And that tension where logic and chaos collide, it leads us directly into one of the major systemic controversies that was raised in the debate.
Oh, the logistics of playoff seeding.
Exactly. There was a very strong critique regarding division titles, granting home field advantage to what they called inferior teams.
That's a huge structural indictment of the entire playoff system, isn't it? The analysts presented this ridiculous situation to the Rams, a team that won 12 games.
12 games.
Having to go up against a Carolina team that won maybe 8 or 9 games, and yet the Rams have to travel across the country for the privilege.
The philosophical argument is simple. The NFL rewards mediocrity just for winning a weak division.
Yeah.
The analyst argued home field should logically go to the team with the best regular season record, or the league should just use the top 7 seeds based strictly on record, eliminate that division winner bias. Their statement was pretty emphatic. It was, I am done with these division titles.
That's a great point for you to consider as a fan, right? Does the tradition of the division champ hosting actually dilute the quality and the fairness of the early playoff rounds? It certainly adds a layer of unpredictable situational chaos to this specific matchup.
And beyond the structural critique, there was a specific focus on the Panthers quarterback, Bryce Young. He was characterized in the source transcripts as the mini-me quarterback when compared to NFL monsters.
And it's important to clarify the context there. The analyst made it very clear this was a comment purely on his size, contrasting him with larger QBs, not a critique of his talent.
Right. They said they like him a lot. I love them at Alabama.
But the size comparison was used to emphasize the physical challenge he faces in that playoff intensity. The analyst basically suggested the Rams' defense should be constantly looking to hunt him.
And in a playoff environment, that physical disparity can be amplified, especially when you're facing a statistically dominant defense.
And talk about the weight of expectation. If the Rams were to lose this game, the sources claimed it would be the biggest disappointment in the playoffs.
Just think about what that statement implies. They argued that a Rams upset would even eclipse potential upsets involving, other high-profile QBs like Josh Allen, or upsets with teams like Pittsburgh, Houston, or Chicago, Green Bay.
The sheer mathematical imbalance just makes a Rams loss the ultimate failure of logic.
Colossal failure of logic.
And finally, the ultimate intangible was brought into debate, one that connects directly back to that idea of chaos.
The weather.
The weather. The prediction of raining cats and dogs, referencing a Monday night condition in Atlanta or Carolina.
Rain is the universal equalizer in professional football. It introduces all these random variables, slippery balls, missteps, fumbles, that can instantly nullify statistical advantage.
So if the Rams' game plan relies on that precise, high-volume passing to Puka Nacua,
a downpour just ensures that anything can happen. It forces the more talented team to play the underdog's conservative ball control game.
It's a perfect setup for chaos. So if the Rams versus Panthers game is about stats colliding with situational chaos,
can logic survive the rain in a previous loss?
Right. Then the Bears versus Packers matchup provides a fascinating shift. It's a long divisional rivalry. The regular season games were razor close. And this discussion gives us a fascinating breakdown of competing coaching strategies.
Yeah, this deep dive gives us an excellent contrast in offensive philosophy. The initial prediction for the Bears-Packers game, driven by one analyst, focused heavily on Jordan Love having the better statistical day.
And the reasoning was built entirely on scheme, right?
Yeah, completely. Coach Matt LaFleur, knowing the magnitude of the moment, will put more on Jordan Love's shoulders. He's going to direct him to attack this secondary of the Chicago Bears.
They specifically highlighted using Christian Watson in one-on-one coverage.
Yeah, noting that was a successful strategy from their first regular season matchup. This is Green Bay betting on its offensive personnel advantage. They believe their top receiver can beat the Bears' best defensive back.
Which suggests a high-volume, aggressive passing game. They're basically asking Love to win the game with his arm.
100%. On the Chicago side, the analysis suggested Caleb Williams' strategy would be built entirely on his ability to play off of the run.
So, a totally different approach.
Completely. The expectation is that offensive coordinator Ben Johnson will emphasize the ground game first, using effective running to set up low-risk, high-efficiency play-action passes.
So, two distinct paths to victory. Green Bay asked their quarterback to carry the offense with sheer production,
while Chicago is asking their quarterback to manage the offense and leverage the run game.
It was even stated that the Green Bay Packers can't win if Jordan Love doesn't have a big day against this secondary. That puts immense pressure on Love to be perfect.
It does.
But here's where it gets really interesting, because the analysis splits the difference between stats and the final score, and it leads to this profound statistical paradox that is the key takeaway for you, the listener, in this matchup.
It truly is striking. One analyst, after laying out exactly why Matt LaFleur will put the offense on Love's shoulders, actually agrees that Jordan Love will look better statistically in the box score, more yards, maybe more touchdowns, precisely because he's being asked to do so much.
Okay.
Yet this same analyst predicts that Love's Packers will suffer a defeat.
Wait, so that is a staggering claim. A statistical victory, but an actual defeat. We're talking about a scenario where great offensive output doesn't translate to a W.
Exactly.
So if the stats favor Love, what's the crucial evidence backing up this counterintuitive prediction?
It all comes down to defense. Specifically, Chicago's defense, which the sources highlight as relentlessly opportunistic. The raw numbers here are just impossible to ignore.
What are we talking about?
This unit led the entire league with 33 total takeaways this year. And crucially, for a high-volume passing QB like Love, 23 of those takeaways were interceptions.
23. That is a historic level of ball hawking and risk exploitation.
It is. So we move the focus away from the QB duel and put it squarely on the defensive backfield. The argument isn't whether Love can throw for 300 yards.
It's whether he can do it cleanly.
Can he do it cleanly when facing that kind of defensive threat?
Exactly. The expectation is clear. This opportunistic defense will capitalize. They will somehow, some way, create at least a couple of high-leverage turnovers against Green Bay.
And as any sports predictor knows, 2 turnovers in a close playoff game, they just nullify yardage and statistical output faster than anything else. Oh yeah, you could throw for 400 yards, but if 14 of the opponent's points come directly from short field opportunities created by your mistakes, your statistical dominance is rendered meaningless.
That's the core tension right there. So what else tilts the scales away from the statistical winner?
Well, the second factor is the running game effectiveness. The analysis predicts that Chicago will be able to run the football in this game more effectively than Green Bay.
And that's crucial for the coaching dynamic. Why is that?
Because effective running dictates the terms of the game. Crucially, the analysis posits that while LaFleur is forced to put more pressure on Love to win through the air, Ben Johnson's commitment to the run game puts less pressure on the shoulders of Caleb Williams. Williams is protected by the run and can pick his spots.
That synthesis provides the ultimate takeaway from this whole debate then. The quarterback who wins the box score, Jordan Love, may not be the game winner.
Not at all, because defensive turnover ability and run game control are predicted to be the deciding factors, securing the win for the Bears.
It's a fantastic illustration of how game plan execution and high-leverage defensive plays can just completely override raw statistical output.
In playoff football, efficiency and execution are often weighted more heavily than volume. It's just a different game.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener, trying to make sense of high-stakes predictions this January?
Well, we've uncovered 2 essential analytical conflicts that truly define high-stakes sports analysis. The first, in the Rams versus Panthers game, is that clash between overwhelming statistical dominance, Stafford's incredible numbers, and all those situational factors.
Previous losses, the weather, that controversial home field advantage.
Right. You have to weigh the cold logic against the potential for chaos.
And the second lens found in the Bears versus Packers debate is that divergence between statistical production, Love's expected yards and touchdowns, and actual game-winning factors.
Like high defensive turnover rates and run game control.
These examples show you that the story behind the final score often comes down to weighing the raw numbers against the intangible factors. especially in a playoff atmosphere where a single unpredictable moment can turn the tide and negate a whole quarter's worth of statistical advantage.
So if you are making predictions this year, you need to use both lenses. Are you betting on the numbers or are you betting on the conditions?
Absolutely. And I want to leave you with one final thought. Building on the sheer weight of expectation we discussed earlier, remember that claim made about the Rams?
That if they lose, it would be the biggest disappointment in the entire playoffs.
Bigger than any other potential upset. That's an incredible level of expectation to carry into a game.
It really is.
So just consider how the weight of external, high-profile expectations like that might psychologically influence a team's performance. How it adds an intangible pressure that even 10.5 betting points can't possibly cover. What other emotional or psychological factors might be overlooked when the margin of error is this small and the media is already declaring you a colossal failure if you don't succeed? That's something worth mulling over before kicking.